The forest of Zeltar was not meant for human feet. Its crystalline trees hummed with frequencies that could shatter eardrums, and its soil secreted acids that dissolved organic matter within minutes. Yet Cecil walked through it barefoot, his calloused soles immune to dangers that would kill a trained soldier. He was 12 standard years old, though his eyes carried the weight of someone much older. The colony of New Terra had abandoned him 3 cycles ago when his parents died in the mining accident. No family, no credits, no future, just survival in the margins of a universe that had no place for human orphans on alien worlds. Cecil heard the sound before he saw anything, a deep, resonant groan that vibrated through the crystalline trunks. He crept forward, curiosity overriding caution. In a clearing where 3 moons cast their pale light, he found her. The dragon was magnificent, even in distress. Her scales shimmered with iridescent purples and golds, each one the size of Cecil's hand. Her wings, meant to span 50 meters, were folded awkwardly against her body. Thick metallic cables, Valkyrie restraints. Cecil recognized from the colony's security forces bound her to a massive stone, cutting into her flesh where she'd struggled. Ambassador Ursula of the Draconian Sovereignty turned one golden eye toward the boy. She had been en route to the Galactic Council summit when her transport was attacked by radical extremists who opposed the Human-Dragon Alliance. They'd left her here to die slowly, knowing the forest's toxins would do their work. "Stay back, human child," Ursula's voice rumbled, speaking through the universal translator embedded in her throat. "This forest will kill you. I am beyond saving." Cecil didn't stay back. He'd learned long ago that rules were for people who had something to lose. "Those cables," he said, circling her carefully. "Valkyrie, make them right." "I've seen them before." "Yes," Ursula wheezed. "Unbreakable by conventional means. Even my fire cannot melt them." She paused, studying him. "Why haven't you fled? Do you not fear me?" Cecil shrugged. "Should I? You're tied up, and I've met scarier things in the colony's lower levels." He knelt near one of the restraints, ignoring the acid that bubbled up around his knees. His pants were already ruined anyway. What happened next would become legend across 100 worlds. Cecil reached into his tattered jacket and pulled out a small device plasma torch he'd stolen from a repair depot months ago. Ursula's eyes widened. The torch was crude, barely functional, certainly not powerful enough to cut Valkyrie cables. But Cecil didn't try to cut them. Instead, he aimed the torch at the stone anchor point where the cables were welded. He'd watched enough maintenance workers in the colony to know, you don't break the lock, you break what it's attached to. The stone was local material, porous volcanic rock. The plasma torch, while weak, was hot enough. Cecil worked methodically, ignoring the heat that blistered his hands, ignoring Ursula's protests that he would damage the torch beyond repair, ignoring the way the forest's toxic fumes made his vision blur. 20 minutes later, the anchor point crumbled. Ursula surged upward, the cables still attached but no longer tethering her. She stretched her wings, and the sheer force of the movement snapped 2 of the weakened restraints. With her claws, she tore away the rest. Free, the dragon Diplomat stood at her full height, nearly 10 meters, and looked down at the homeless human boy who had saved her life with a broken tool and stubbornness. "Why?" she asked. "You owe me nothing. Your kind and mine have barely known peace for a decade. Why risk yourself?" Cecil sat back on the toxic ground, exhausted, because you needed help. Isn't that enough? It was such a simple answer, such a human answer. Ursula would later testify before the Galactic Council about what happened next. She told them how she'd carried the boy on her back as she flew to the summit, how he'd slept against her scales, trustingly, while she soared through alien skies, how a child with nothing had given everything without expecting anything in return. The council chamber fell silent when Cecil walked in beside Ambassador Ursula, a homeless human boy in rags, standing next to one of the most powerful diplomats in known space. "This," Ursula announced, her voice carrying through the vast hall, "is why humanity deserves their seat among us. Not for their weapons, not for their technology, but for the instinct to help, even when it costs them everything, even when they have nothing left to give." The Valkyrie delegation protested. The extremists had been members of their security forces, after all, but the draconian sovereignty, the most ancient and respected species in the galaxy, had made their position clear. Cecil was offered citizenship, education, a home. The human colony of New Terra suddenly found generous funding for their orphanages and support systems. The Human-Dragon Alliance was solidified not through treaties and trade agreements, but through the actions of one boy who simply thought someone needed help years later. Ambassador Cecil, humanity's youngest council member, would stand in that same chamber. Beside him, his mentor and friend Ursula would smile with rows of gleaming teeth. "Tell us, Ambassador," a delegate from a distant world would ask, "what drives humanity to such acts? What is your secret?" Cecil would remember the toxic forest, the broken torch, the simple choice to help because help was needed. "No secret," he'd say. "Just stubbornness, and the belief that we're all worth saving even when we can't save ourselves." That was the day the galaxy truly understood humanity. The end.